For centuries, Earth had been a quiet, broken planet. It was a place that once thrived with life and innovation, but now it was little more than a resource for the alien conquerors. The invaders, a mix of ruthless species from across the galaxy, had come to Earth with their endless thirst for power. They took what they wanted: land, resources, even people. Earth's people, once proud and strong, had been reduced to mere survivors, struggling to keep their existence alive. The world's great cities had crumbled, leaving only scars of what once was. Alien ships patrolled the skies, and Earth's soil was tainted by the machinery of those who cared nothing for it. The people of Earth lived in constant fear. They no longer had the luxury of dreams or hope. Every day was a battle to stay alive, and many had forgotten what it was like to feel free. Some had accepted their fate, silently enduring the oppressive rule of the alien overlords, while others clung desperately to the idea of rebellion. However, all attempts to resist had been crushed swiftly by the overwhelming alien forces. The Earthlings were no match for the advanced technology and military strength of their conquerors. Yet, despite the pain, despite the suffering, something within Earth had started to change. It wasn't obvious at first. No one could see it or even fully comprehend it, but there was a whisper in the air, a shift deep beneath the surface. In the quietest corners of the world, in places where humans still dared to live freely, small groups of rebels began to whisper of a power, an ancient power hidden beneath their feet. They had no idea what it was or where it had come from, but they felt it, an energy that pulsed in the earth, a quiet but undeniable force that seemed to stir the blood in their veins. At first, it was subtle, almost like a dream. People felt a sudden burst of energy, a strange sense of clarity. Some were stronger, others faster, and a few even started to experience things they could not explain: glimpses of the future, sudden bursts of telepathic thought. It was as if the Earth itself was waking up, trying to help its people stand again. But the alien forces were swift to stamp out any hope of rebellion. The invaders never saw the shift coming. They had always thought of humans as weak, fragile creatures who would bend to their will. They had underestimated the resilience of the human spirit. What they didn't know was that the Earth had once been home to a great civilization, one that had mastered powers beyond their understanding. Over time, this power had been sealed away, hidden in the deepest parts of the planet, waiting for the right moment to awaken. That moment had come. It was a small group of human scientists, rebels, and those who had dared to believe in Earth's true potential, who first stumbled upon the hidden power. In a long-forgotten underground lab, they discovered ancient artifacts and texts that spoke of humanity's forgotten power. These weren't just stories or legends. They were instructions. Instructions on how to unlock the human mind and body, how to tap into the very forces of nature itself. As the rebels began to experiment, they quickly realized that this wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. This was something more. This was the power to change everything. They began training in secret, pushing their bodies and minds to the limit, unlocking abilities that defied explanation. But the aliens weren't foolish. They had long suspected that the humans might still hold some hidden strength, and when strange reports of human uprising started to surface, they grew worried. It was only a matter of time before the humans would organize, before they would strike back. And when they did, the invaders would be ready. However, the first strike came much sooner than they expected. It was in a small, remote part of the Earth where the first attack happened. The humans, having unlocked their dormant powers, launched a surprise assault on an alien supply base. The fight was intense, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. But what the aliens didn't expect was the sudden surge of power from the humans. They moved with speed and strength that seemed impossible, dodging alien weapons and overpowering their enemies with sheer force. It wasn't just technology or military strategy, it was raw, untapped power. For the first time in centuries, the invaders felt the weight of fear. They had underestimated Earth's people. They thought they could keep Earth enslaved forever, but now they knew they were wrong. As news of the first victory spread across Earth, more and more humans began to awaken to their own potential. No longer did they bow before their alien masters. The whispers of rebellion turned into loud calls for war. The once divided human population, separated by countries, ideologies, and fear, now stood united under a single banner: the fight to reclaim their world. Across the globe, small pockets of humans began to organize, training and planning. The alien forces could no longer ignore the growing threat. They sent more soldiers, more ships, but it was clear that the balance of power was shifting. The Earthlings fought back with a fierce determination they had not known before. They didn't just want to survive anymore. They wanted their home back. And with every passing day, they grew stronger. The power that had once been dormant now coursed through their veins, and with it came the strength to defeat their alien oppressors. The aliens were no longer the ones in control. They could not stop the wave of rebellion sweeping across Earth. But the aliens, not ones to give up easily, prepared for the final battle. They knew that the only way to crush humanity's uprising was to strike at the heart of the rebellion. They gathered their fleets, prepared their weapons, and sent their most powerful commanders to Earth. It was going to be the final confrontation, the battle that would decide Earth's fate. ASE, the human forces prepared for the ultimate fight. They knew it wasn't just about winning the war. It was about sending a message. The galaxy would soon know what humanity was capable of. And the alien forces would never underestimate the human race again. The stage was set, and the future of Earth was no longer uncertain. The humans had found their strength, and they were ready to fight for it. The silence was finally broken. The suffering of Earth had ended, and a new chapter was about to begin. It was a cold, gray morning when Dr. Emily Carter stumbled upon something she never could have imagined. She had been working in the depths of the Earth's ancient ruins, a place thought to be nothing more than a forgotten remnant of the planet's past. The ruins were silent, and the air was thick with the weight of history. But there, buried beneath layers of rock and dust, she uncovered a strange object, an artifact that seemed out of place. The object wasn't large, no bigger than the palm of her hand, but it hummed with an energy that Emily could feel even before she touched it. It was smooth and metallic, covered in strange symbols that none of the scholars had been able to decipher. She was intrigued. It wasn't just the artifact itself, it was the overwhelming sense that it carried something more. It felt alive, like it held the secrets of a forgotten time. Emily carefully studied the artifact, running her fingers over the unfamiliar symbols. The vibrations in her hand grew stronger, more intense, as though the object was reacting to her presence. She couldn't explain it, but she felt an undeniable pull, a connection that drew her deeper into its mystery. Her mind raced as she considered the possibilities. Could this be something the aliens missed? Something they had overlooked in their quest to control Earth? She couldn't be sure, but she had a strange feeling in her gut that it was far more significant than any of them had realized. She returned to her lab, the artifact clutched tightly in her hands, determined to find answers. But as the hours passed, it became clear that nothing about this artifact was ordinary. No machine could analyze it, no scanner could decode the strange symbols, and the energy it emitted seemed to defy all known science. It was almost as if the artifact had been built by a civilization far beyond anything the human race had ever known. It was unlike anything on Earth, yet it felt strangely familiar, like a part of something much bigger. The more Emily studied it, the more the artifact began to reveal. At first, it was just small, almost imperceptible changes, a slight pulse of light that flickered in the symbols, a soft hum that resonated through the room. But then, one evening, as she sat alone in her lab, the artifact suddenly surged with power. The room was filled with a blinding light, and for a moment, Emily was paralyzed with awe and fear. She could feel the energy coursing through her body, filling her mind with visions of another time, a distant memory that didn't belong to her. The images were fragmented at first, flashes of ancient cities, towering structures made of materials she couldn't recognize, and beings that looked both human and alien. They were the architects of this power, and they had once ruled the Earth long before the alien invaders arrived. As the light dimmed, Emily was left breathless, her heart racing. The artifact had done something to her, it had awakened something deep inside her. The visions, the strange connection, it all pointed to a single truth. Earth wasn't as helpless as everyone had believed. The planet had once been home to a civilization so advanced that even the aliens could not have imagined it. They had been the first to harness a power beyond technology, a power that came from the very core of the Earth itself. This power had been sealed away, hidden, and forgotten until now. Shaken but determined, Emily knew she had to share her discovery with the world. She couldn't keep this knowledge to herself. It was too important. But the moment she reached out to the few trusted colleagues she had, she was met with resistance. They were skeptical, dismissive even, of her claims. Some said it was nothing more than a strange relic, a curiosity with no real value. Others were frightened, afraid of what this discovery could mean. But Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the artifact was more than just a relic. It was a key to unlocking humanity's forgotten potential. It was only when she began to experiment with the artifact that its true power revealed itself. Slowly, carefully, Emily discovered that the object could be manipulated. It wasn't just a passive relic, it responded to her thoughts, to her intentions. It was as if the artifact could read her mind, guiding her hands to unlock its secrets. The more she worked with it, the more she realized that it was not only capable of harnessing the energy of the Earth, it could amplify the latent power within human beings themselves. It didn't take long for Emily to realize what she had uncovered. The power of this artifact could be the key to turning the tide against the alien invaders. She knew that if she could unlock this power in others, the humans could fight back. But she also understood the risks. The aliens would stop at nothing to destroy the source of this power. They would never allow Earth to rise again, not when they had already claimed it as their own. Desperate for answers, Emily sought out others who might share her vision. She found a small group of like-minded individuals, rebels, scientists, and freedom fighters who were willing to help her unlock the full potential of the artifact. Together, they began to experiment, pushing the boundaries of human capability. It wasn't easy. The power was volatile, unpredictable, and often dangerous. But each time they managed to harness even a fraction of its strength, the results were astonishing. People became faster, stronger, and more attuned to the world around them. They could manipulate energy, communicate telepathically, and even heal wounds with just a touch. But as the group delved deeper into the artifact's secrets, they began to realize that the power they were unlocking came at a cost. The energy was ancient, tied to the very life force of the Earth itself. If they weren't careful, they could unleash forces they couldn't control. But Emily refused to turn back. The stakes were too high. The alien forces had taken everything from Earth, and now it was time to take it back. With each new discovery, Emily's hope grew. She knew they had only scratched the surface of what was possible. The artifact was the key to humanity's salvation, but unlocking its full potential would require courage, sacrifice, and a willingness to defy the odds. The first glimmer of victory was within reach, and for the first time in years, the people of Earth began to believe that they might have a chance to reclaim their world. But the alien forces were watching, and they knew that the discovery of such power would mean war. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The world had been under the shadow of alien oppression for what seemed like an eternity. Earth's people lived in constant fear, knowing that every move they made was being watched. The alien invaders had taken control of every city, every resource, and every inch of the planet. The humans, once proud and strong, had been reduced to mere survivors, their will to fight slowly fading with each passing day. But deep inside, something stirred, something that even the aliens didn't expect. It started with a whisper. The whispers grew louder, spreading across the globe, reaching the ears of those who still dared to dream of freedom. Small groups of humans, scattered in the far corners of Earth, began to gather. They had learned of the ancient power hidden beneath the Earth's surface, power that could change the tide of the war, power that had been forgotten, locked away by those who once ruled the planet. Dr. Emily Carter and her team were among the first to truly understand the significance of this power. They had uncovered the artifact, the key to unlocking humanity's forgotten strength. And as they worked to harness this power, they realized that the impossible could be within their reach. But no one expected it to happen so soon. It was supposed to be a secret, a careful, calculated plan. The humans were still learning, still unlocking their abilities. The world was not yet ready for open conflict. Yet, in a small village on the outskirts of a long-abandoned city, the first strike came. It wasn't a grand military campaign. There were no armies, no fleets of ships descending from the sky. It was one man, Jonas Keller, a former soldier turned rebel leader who made the first move. Jonas had heard the whispers, seen the signs, and felt the power growing within him. But he wasn't the only one. As he stood in the ruins of an old factory, he felt the strange energy course through his veins. His body felt alive in ways he couldn't explain. The artifact, with its ancient power, had awakened something deep within him. For years, Jonas had lived in the shadows, a man haunted by the memory of his fallen comrades and the world he had once known. He had sworn to fight, but the alien forces were too strong. They had crushed every attempt to resist, every rebellion snuffed out before it could even begin. Yet, standing there in the ruins, he realized something had changed. He was no longer just a man. He was something more. The power he felt was unlike anything he had ever known. Jonas didn't know if he could control it, but he couldn't ignore it either. The alien patrols in the area were few, but they would come through soon enough. The moment he felt the power building within him, he made a decision. He would strike. He would show the aliens that Earth was not as weak as they thought. As the patrol of alien soldiers entered the factory district, Jonas felt the energy surge inside him. It was almost overwhelming, so much power, so much strength, coursing through his every muscle. His senses sharpened, and his movements became faster, more precise. He moved silently, like a shadow, but with a force that felt almost supernatural. The alien soldiers, armed with advanced weapons, were no match for his newfound abilities. In seconds, Jonas disarmed the first soldier, then the next. His hands were blindingly fast, his strikes impossible to predict. The aliens couldn't react fast enough to stop him. The power that had once seemed like a distant, uncertain force was now his to command. The aliens tried to fight back, but Jonas was unstoppable. His body moved with the grace and power of something beyond human, beyond anything they had seen. Each punch, each kick sent shockwaves through the alien soldiers. They were knocked off their feet, unable to defend themselves. Within moments, the small patrol was defeated. Jonas stood there, breathing heavily, but exhilarated. He had done it. He had struck the first blow. It wasn't a large victory, just a small skirmish, a momentary victory in the larger war. But it was enough. Enough to prove to him, and to the world, that the aliens were not invincible. And more importantly, it was enough to prove that the power hidden within Earth's people was real. As Jonas walked away from the wreckage, he knew this was just the beginning. The rebellion had begun, and the world would never be the same again. The news of the attack spread quickly, reaching the ears of other humans who had felt the stirrings of the ancient power. For the first time in years, hope began to rise. More people began to unlock the power within themselves. Some were soldiers, some were scientists, some were ordinary citizens, but they all felt the same pull, the same power that had once been sealed away. The aliens might have controlled Earth for centuries, but they had made one mistake. They had underestimated humanity's will to survive, to fight for their home. Meanwhile, the alien forces took notice of the unexpected strike. They had assumed that the humans were powerless, that their reign over the planet was unchallenged. But now, they realized that something was different. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were changing. Their resistance was no longer a nuisance. It was a threat. The aliens had grown complacent, but now they saw that Earth's people were awakening. And they couldn't allow that to continue. In the high command of the alien fleet, a sense of unease spread. The first strike was only a small blow, but it marked the beginning of a larger conflict. The humans had discovered something: they shouldn't have a power that could alter the balance of the galaxy. The alien leaders knew they had to act fast, or their hold on Earth would slip away. Back on Earth, Jonas and the others who had felt the surge of power knew that their first strike was only the beginning. The road ahead would be dangerous, filled with uncertainty and obstacles. But they were no longer afraid. The unexpected power that had awakened within them had given them hope, and hope was something the aliens couldn't take away. The first strike marked the beginning of a new war. The people of Earth knew that the battle for their planet had only just begun. The aliens may have had the upper hand for now, but Earth's people were no longer helpless. They had the power to fight back, to take back what was theirs. And they would not stop until their world was free. The first strike had been a spark, a small, unexpected rebellion that lit a fire in the hearts of Earth's people. Jonas Keller's success against the alien patrol was not just an isolated victory. It was a signal, one that would spread like wildfire across the globe. The news of his incredible power and the defeat of the alien soldiers reached every corner of the Earth, carried by whispers, rumors, and the hidden communications networks that the invaders had failed to completely shut down. For the first time in years, the humans who had lived in silence, oppressed under the alien boot, began to stir. They had seen that victory was possible, and now they believed it could be achieved. At first, the rebellions were small groups of ordinary people banding together, not in large armies, but in small, tight-knit units. Each one inspired by the same thing, the memory of a world they had lost and the hope of regaining it. They didn't have much. They didn't have weapons or technology advanced enough to challenge the aliens head-on. But they had something far more powerful, the will to fight, and the ancient power they were beginning to awaken within themselves. It wasn't just physical strength that they gained. People were discovering abilities that went beyond what the alien invaders could have ever imagined. Some could manipulate energy, others could move faster than a speeding vehicle, and a few had even begun to tap into psychic abilities, reading minds or communicating without words. Dr. Emily Carter, once a scientist working in the shadows, was now one of the leaders of this new movement. She understood the power they were unlocking, and she knew that the key to winning the war against the invaders lay in unity. It wasn't enough for people to have power. They had to learn to work together, to combine their strengths. Emily set out to unite these small, scattered groups into something greater. She knew the aliens were watching, waiting, ready to crush any sign of rebellion before it could grow. If the humans were going to win, they had to fight together, as one. The rebellion's spread was not without its challenges. The alien forces were relentless. They knew that the first signs of resistance could easily grow into something bigger if left unchecked. And so, they responded with even more brutal tactics. Cities were razed to the ground, entire populations were wiped out, and any sign of rebellion was met with swift, crushing force. The aliens hoped that fear would stop the humans from rising up. But instead, it only fueled their resolve. They had already lost so much, but now they had something they hadn't had in years: hope. Across the planet, the small groups that had once acted alone began to join forces. In the ruins of once great cities, in the deep forests and mountains, and even in the sprawling deserts, humanity began to unite. Each rebel group brought their knowledge, their skills, and their newfound powers to the cause. They learned quickly, adapting to the strange energy within them, training their bodies and minds to use it to their advantage. It wasn't long before they realized they could fight back in ways they had never imagined. But the unity they sought was hard to achieve. Trust didn't come easily. Years of oppression had made humans suspicious, divided, and fearful of one another. There were disagreements, even fights between the different rebel factions. Some believed that they should strike immediately, while others argued they should wait until they were stronger. Others felt that the power they were unlocking might be dangerous, too powerful for anyone to control. But through it all, Emily and Jonas pushed forward, refusing to let the rebellion fall apart. They knew that the aliens were only growing stronger. If humanity was going to win, they had to put aside their differences. One evening, as the sun set over the war-torn city of New Paris, the leaders of the rebellion gathered for an urgent meeting. It was in the ruins of an old cathedral, its stained glass windows shattered, its once grand halls now filled with the voices of those who had fought for so long. Emily stood at the front, looking at the faces of those who had come, people who had once been strangers but were now united by a common cause. The plan was simple. They would combine their powers and launch a coordinated strike against one of the alien strongholds in the heart of the city. It wasn't just about taking back one city, it was about sending a message to the invaders that the humans were no longer afraid. Jonas, now a respected leader among the rebels, was the first to speak. "We've waited long enough. We have the power, we know it's real. but the aliens are already preparing to wipe us out. If we don't act now, we might lose everything. They've underestimated us. We need to show them that we're ready to fight together." The group listened in silence. They knew the risks. The aliens would retaliate with everything they had. But this was their chance. The rebellion had spread far and wide, and now, for the first time, all of humanity was truly united. They had seen the power within them, and they knew they could use it to defeat the aliens. The night of the strike arrived. A storm raged in the sky above, as if the very earth was preparing for the battle to come. The rebellion's forces, now larger and stronger than ever, moved into position. They were not an army of soldiers in uniforms. They were farmers, scientists, doctors, and factory workers, people from every walk of life, now bound together by their shared cause. Some carried weapons, but most of their strength came from the strange, ancient power they had learned to control. The aliens were caught off guard. The humans moved swiftly and silently, attacking from multiple directions, using their powers to disable alien technology and disrupt their defenses. The strike was precise and devastating. The aliens, who had always relied on their superior technology and overwhelming numbers, were unprepared for the sudden, coordinated assault. The humans didn't just fight with their powers, they fought with something even more powerful, their unity. By the time the sun rose the next day, the alien stronghold had been destroyed. The humans had won their first major victory in the war, and the message was clear. The rebellion was no longer just a spark, it was a flame that could not be extinguished. The aliens had made a grave mistake when they underestimated Earth's people. Now, they would learn that humanity was no longer divided, no longer afraid. Together, they would rise. And so, the rebellion spread. More and more people joined the fight, learning to use their powers and unite against the invaders. The aliens knew that they were in danger. The humans were not just fighting back, they were becoming something stronger than they could have imagined. But one thing was certain, the battle for Earth had only just begun. The day of reckoning had arrived. After months of relentless fighting, the humans had become a force to be reckoned with. The alien invaders, who had once viewed Earth's people as weak and insignificant, were now facing an enemy they could not understand. The humans had unlocked a power within themselves, a power that the invaders could never have anticipated. They had united, they had learned to harness their newfound abilities, and now they were ready to fight for their freedom. Jonas Keller stood at the front of the rebel army, his heart pounding as he looked out at the alien stronghold ahead. The once great city was now a battlefield, with crumbling buildings and smoldering wreckage marking the scars of years of war. The alien forces had gathered in massive numbers, believing that they could still crush the rebellion once and for all. They had underestimated humanity's resolve. The humans were no longer the broken, scared survivors they had once been. They were warriors united by their cause, driven by their need for freedom, and fueled by the power they had awakened within themselves. In the days leading up to this final confrontation, Emily Carter had worked tirelessly, coordinating the strike and making sure the rebellion's forces were in position. The humans had learned to use their abilities in ways that were almost unimaginable. They could communicate without speaking, move faster than the speed of sound, and control energy in ways that defied logic. But they were not relying solely on their powers. The strength of their unity, the trust they had built, was their greatest weapon. They fought together as one. The battle began as the humans stormed the alien stronghold. The skies above were filled with the sound of explosions, and the ground shook with the force of the combat. The alien forces, confident in their technology and numbers, fought back fiercely. But it was clear that something was different. The humans moved as if they were one organism, flowing together, each strike precise and devastating. The power they had unlocked, the strength they had gained, was more than enough to overwhelm the alien forces. The aliens, though powerful, were not ready for this. They had never faced an enemy like this before. Jonas led the charge, his body moving with the grace and power of someone who had fully embraced the energy within him. His every movement was calculated, swift, and devastating. He had become something more than human, a being of pure focus and strength. His team followed close behind, each member using their powers in their own way. Some were able to create shields of energy to protect their comrades, while others launched devastating blasts of power that tore through the alien forces. It wasn't just their powers that made them formidable. It was their will to win, their desire to take back what was theirs. The aliens, seeing their forces fall one by one, began to retreat. They had never expected this. The humans had become too strong, too unified. The battle raged on, but the outcome was clear. The aliens were losing. Slowly but surely, their hold on Earth was slipping away. As the humans pushed forward, their ultimate goal came into view: the alien command center. It was heavily guarded, but the humans knew that if they could take down the heart of the invaders' operations, the war would be won. They fought their way through the final line of defense, overcoming obstacles and alien soldiers with ease. They had learned, adapted, and grown stronger with every battle. And now, they were ready to end it all. Jonas and Emily led the final push. The command center loomed before them, its towering structure a symbol of the aliens' dominance over Earth. But as they approached, the sound of approaching reinforcements filled the air. The aliens were not going down without a fight. This would be the final test, the last obstacle standing between humanity and their ultimate victory. The humans didn't hesitate. With a final burst of energy, they stormed the command center, their powers reaching new heights as they pushed past the alien defenses. The battle inside the center was fierce, but it was over quickly. The alien commanders, who'd been the masterminds behind the invasion, fell one by one. With each victory, the humans grew stronger, their confidence growing with every step they took toward their goal. Finally, Jonas reached the heart of the command center, the alien control room. Inside, he found the alien leader, a towering figure who had ruled over Earth with an iron fist. The alien looked at Jonas, its cold eyes filled with arrogance and disbelief. "You think you can defeat us?" It sneered. "We are the masters of this galaxy." Jonas didn't respond. He had no words left. Instead, he raised his hand, and the energy within him surged. A blast of pure power shot from his palm, striking the alien leader with all the force of humanity's anger and determination. The alien's body convulsed, and then it fell, lifeless, to the ground. The command center began to shake as the alien leader's death triggered a chain reaction in their technology. The entire structure began to crumble, and the remaining alien forces, seeing their leader fall, began to retreat in panic. It was over. The aliens had lost. Outside, the humans watched as the alien forces scattered, their ships retreating into the sky. The battle for Earth had been won. The war was over. The humans had triumphed. Their world, once lost and broken, was now free. The streets of Earth cities were filled with the sounds of celebration. The people who had once lived in fear now embraced each other, rejoicing in their victory. The air was filled with laughter and cheers as humans looked toward the future, a future they had reclaimed from the invaders. It was a victory not just of power, but of unity, hope, and resilience. Jonas stood at the front of the crowd, his eyes filled with pride as he watched his people celebrate. Emily joined him, her face alight with joy. The war was over. Earth was free. And though they had fought hard, they knew that the ultimate victory had not just been about defeating the aliens. It had been about reclaiming their humanity, their strength, and their right to live as free people once again. As the celebrations continued into the night, one thing was clear: humanity had learned something invaluable. They had discovered the power within themselves, the strength that comes when people fight for what they believe in. And no alien force, no matter how powerful, would ever be able to take that from them again. Earth had triumphed, and the future was theirs to shape.